I'd like to start by acknowledging the chatterbox that lives in my head, the one that keeps whispering to me that this book isn't very good, that no one's going to want to read it. Some days I think that this book is the greatest thing ever written on heartbreak, but then other days I think it's the worst and that I have absolutely no business sharing any of it with you. I imagine it's actually somewhere in between the best and the worst. But here's the truth. Whether the book is good or not was never the battle. The real battle for me was finishing it. I've started many books over the years, probably 10 or 15, but I've never completed any of them because somewhere along the way I decided that I didn't really have anything worth saying, that no one would really listen, and that I really wasn't a writer. This book is different, not because the doubts disappeared, but because I decided to do it anyway. There were so many moments where I considered canceling tonight. Telling myself that I really needed more time to edit, that I needed to make sure I didn't have any repeated stories, that I needed to make sure all the grammar was right, that I just needed to make it better. But I knew that deep down, if I postponed, that eventually I'd just talk myself out of it altogether, because who am I, after all, to think that I can actually write a book? And that's when I realized that's the victory. That's my healing. I finished the book. I didn't cancel tonight, and I am here to read it to you. And whether you connect with the book or not, I do hope that you connect with this message. You can finish things even when you don't know how they'll turn out. You can do things when you're scared, when you're unsure, and you're convinced that you're not good enough. Again, I appreciate you guys for being here because I know that it's out of support only, so I appreciate that. This past Tuesday marked 1 year since my official breakup, and tonight feels like the closing of that chapter. Not just the end of a book, but the beginning of a whole new story for me. You're here to witness what I believe is the final step of my healing journey. Somewhere along the way, I had to tell my chatterbox, I hear you. I know that you're just trying to save me from embarrassment, and I appreciate that. But even if this book is the worst thing ever written, we're gonna do it anyway. And that's the win for me. That's how you silence the chatterbox, by doing the things that it tells you that you can't. I've learned that when you make a firm decision to keep moving forward, regardless of the reasons to quit, the chatterbox eventually quiets. I saw this when I made the choice to keep walking at a park one day. I was super tired. I wanted to quit. I kept having this argument with my mind, like, just quit, you're tired. But when I finally told my chatterbox, we're finishing the walk, no matter how tired we are, the chatterbox stopped. Because the fight ends the moment you decide that quitting is not an option. And it reminds me of the caterpillar. If you look at a caterpillar, there is literally nothing that suggests that one day it's going to fly. It doesn't have wings. There is no sign of flight anywhere, and yet within it is still the potential for transformation. And that is true for us. Maybe right now you don't see any indication that you'll heal. Maybe you don't feel like you'll ever get through your pain, whatever it is, or that your dreams will ever take flight. But just like the caterpillar, the transformation is already in motion, even if you can't see it. And just like the butterfly, we don't get to fly without the struggle. Without the struggle of breaking through the cocoon, a butterfly doesn't develop the strength to fly. It would just stay in place, leading to its death. It's in the struggle that we find our wings. It's in the disappointment, the pain, and in the heartbreak that resilience takes root. Tuesday, on the 1 year anniversary, I had so many little things go wrong when I was prepping for tonight. And normally all of those things would have put me in a really bad place. But instead of falling victim to my own attitude, I kept reading a simple phrase. Everything is perfect now. If I believe that I am on the path of my destiny, if I believe that God is directing my steps, then that means I have to believe that everything that happens along the way is part of that plan. You can't have one without the other. So that means that even the heartbreak that I thought would destroy me was in some way perfect for me. The things that hurt, annoy, or frustrate us, they're all part of the process, but we get to decide how we respond to them. So when everything felt like it was going wrong on Tuesday, I stopped and said, everything is perfect now. And I said it probably about 40 times that day. And you know what, though? I ended up having a great day. Not because everything went right, but because I refused to let it take me down. And I even found myself laughing at a few things that normally would have caused me to start spiraling. So tonight, my message to you is this. Stop waiting for fear to disappear before you take action. Do it scared. Stop listening to the chatterbox that tells you you're not good enough. Do it anyway. Trust that every step you take is leading you somewhere greater, even the painful ones. Tonight isn't just about reading parts of a book. It's about taking back your power. Because if I can finish this book, despite all of the doubt, fear, and resistance that came to me daily, then I know that you can finish your dreams too. No more caterpillar. Get ready to fly, you beautiful, strong, courageous butterfly. Tonight, I would like to start by reading the introduction because in so many ways it captures the journey. Not just mine, but I feel anyone that's ever faced any heartbreak at all, if you've ever wondered if you'll get through it, if you've ever felt lost, if you've ever questioned whether you'll breathe easily again, this is for you. So this is the book introduction, Moving Beyond the Break. Heartbreak is a universal experience, yet when it happens to you, it can feel like you're the only person in the world going through it. The pain consumes every part of your being, leaving you feeling like you'll never breathe easily again. I know this because I've been there. My journey through love, heartbreak, and healing has been the most challenging chapter of my life, and it's the reason that this book exists. This is not just a book about heartbreak, it's a book about transformation. It's about moving beyond the devastation of a broken heart and rediscovering who you are. It's about finding the strength to rebuild your life and realizing that what feels like the end is often just the beginning. If you're here, you might be feeling the unbearable weight of loss, but I'm here to tell you that you can and you will get through this. You are not alone. For me, the story began with a love that was as consuming as it was complicated. He wasn't just someone that I loved, he was someone I imagined spending the rest of my life with. I had waited years for the chance to be with him, only to find myself sharing him with his past. After we were officially together, I lived in the shadow of his lingering attachments, hoping that one day I'd be enough for him to fully choose me. I gave all of myself to this love, but in the end, it wasn't enough. The heartbreak didn't just happen overnight, it unfolded in waves, each one more painful than the last. I had spent years hoping for us to be together, and now, even after the breakup, I held on to the idea that we weren't really over. But the moment that crushed me was when I found out he had already moved back in with his ex. It was like the air had been stolen from my lungs, like the ground beneath me had vanished, and in that instance, I knew there was no more hope to hold on to. It was in those moments of despair that I learned the depth of my own resilience. As much as I loved him, I knew I had to love myself more. The journey that followed has been one of self-discovery, growth, and healing. It hasn't been easy, and there are still days when I feel the ache of the loss. But piece by piece, day by day, I've rebuilt my heart and my life. Through this process, I've learned one vital truth. Healing requires action. If we just sit back and do nothing, the intensity of the pain may eventually fade, but the time we spend suffering increases exponentially. Healing isn't passive. It's a choice that we make every single day. It's about showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. When I started this journey, I didn't know what healing looked like. I only knew that I did not want to stay stuck in this pain forever. I discovered that healing isn't about forgetting or erasing the pain. It's about transforming it into something beautiful. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, and more connected to yourself than ever before. This book is my invitation for you to join me on this journey. You might be reading this with tears in your eyes, wondering if the ache in your chest will ever go away. I want you to know that it will. It may take time and the journey might be messy, but you have the strength within you to heal. You have the power to turn this heartbreak into an opportunity for growth, to rebuild your life in a way that's even more beautiful and fulfilling than before. I won't promise you that it'll be easy, but I promise you this: you're worth the effort, you're worth the time, the tears, and the work that it takes to heal. And when you reach the other side, you'll look back and you'll see not just the pain, but the incredible strength and courage it took to move beyond the break. You'll see how far you've come, and you'll know that you're capable of so much more than you ever imagined. So let's begin this journey together. Let's take an active role in our healing. Let's move beyond the break and into a future filled with hope, love, and possibility. For me, I know that heartbreak, it felt very isolating. I had so many moments where I didn't want to heal. I honestly didn't. I wanted to just sit in the pain. I wanted to just live in that and not put forth the effort to get past it. But at some point I knew I didn't want to live there. I knew I had more to do. So when I wrote this book, I wasn't just writing my story. I was writing for anyone who's ever felt the sense of loss. Tonight, I'm going to be reading just a couple sections from chapter 1 and then a couple sections from chapter 10. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that, if I'm supposed to give an introduction before each section or not. So what I'm actually going to do is just tell you where I'm reading from and read it. So this is from chapter 1, A Life Intertwined. And I want to read this part because it basically tells where the journey started for me. When someone becomes a part of your life for over a decade, they stop being just a person you know. They become the thread and a fabric of your existence. Their presence weaves into your identity, your choices, and your dreams until you can't easily separate where you end and they begin. And that's how it was with him. For nearly 12 years, he wasn't just in my life. He was a part of the foundation I built my world upon. He started as my friend and greatest cheerleader, but he grew to be so much more. He quickly became my best friend, my confidant, and in many ways, my reflection. I saw pieces of myself in him, pieces I admired, feared, and didn't even know existed. And now, standing on the other side of our story, I'm confronted by the most overwhelming question of all. Who am I without him? Our relationship didn't follow the typical script of romantic comedies or love stories. It didn't begin with fireworks or destiny-laden encounters. At first, it wasn't even about love. It was about filling a void, seeking something that had been missing from my life for too long, just a connection, something to remind me that I was alive. But somewhere along the way, something deeper began to grow. He became a light in my life, illuminating parts of me that I hadn't seen in years. My strength, my resilience, my confidence. He didn't just see those parts of me, but he helped me to finally see them too. For someone like me, someone who had spent her entire life guarding her heart, this was unfamiliar territory. I had long believed that truly falling in love wasn't even possible for me. My childhood trauma had taught me to build walls to keep people at a distance, because letting someone in felt like handing them the power to break me. But with him, it was different. His patience softened my edges, his kindness chipped away at my fears, and his uncanny ability to see a light in me that I had long forgotten existed melted my defenses. Little by little, I let him in, and for the first time, I felt truly seen. Over the years, he became more than just my friend and partner. He became the person who reminded me of my worth, my own power. He challenged me when I doubted myself. He supported me when I faltered, and he gave me the courage to start building a life I could be proud of. But now, that foundation, it feels unsteady. The person I became was so closely intertwined with him that unraveling the threads of our story feels overwhelming. How do I carry forward the lessons and growth without being tethered to the past? Rediscovering who I am, standing on my own without the reflection of us to guide me, feels like both an impossible task and yet an essential one. Chapter 1, the loss of choice. The thing that I've come to understand about heartbreak is this. It's not just the loss of love that hurts. It's the loss of control, the loss of choice. I didn't want to have to figure this out. This isn't the life I wanted. I wanted to fight for the relationship. I wanted to make it work, and I was willing to give it my all to do that. But heartbreak has a way of ripping that choice away from you, leaving you grappling with a reality that you did not ask for. Heartbreak is not just about losing the person you loved, it's about grieving the future you envisioned with them. The shared dreams, the plans, the some days that you built together, they all vanish in an instant, and you're left standing in the ruins of what could have been. In the early days of this heartbreak, after the heartbreak, I resisted this reality with every fiber of my being. I didn't want to imagine a future without him. I didn't want to think about who I'd be without us. All I wanted was it to go back to the way it was, even if that meant living in a version of love that wasn't entirely healthy. The idea of starting over felt impossible, and yet here I was with no other choice. Grieving the loss of your vision for the future is one of the hardest parts of heartbreak. It's not just mourning the past, it's mourning the future that will never be. And it's okay to feel angry about that. It's okay to feel like it's unfair, because it is unfair. You didn't choose this. But as much as I didn't want this, I've come to see that heartbreak is also an invitation. A brutal, cruel, unasked for invitation to create something new. It's a chance to rebuild, to rediscover who you are outside of the relationship, and to dream new dreams that are entirely your own. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's not. But every small step you take toward acceptance is a step toward reclaiming your life. As you navigate this uncharted territory, remember that while you didn't choose this heartbreak, you can choose how to rise from it. And that's where I was, deep in the heartbreak, completely unsure of who I was without him. And I wasn't even sure I wanted to know who I was without him. And maybe you felt this too. Maybe not now, but maybe sometime in the past. Heartbreak, as devastating as it is, it's also an invitation. An invitation that can lead to something greater. And that's what I want to share with you next, is the other side of the journey. This is from the conclusion of chapter 1. Here's the truth. Healing is possible. The good news, you will get through this pain. The bad news, healing requires courage. It asks you to sit with the discomfort, even when every instinct tells you to run. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel angry, lost, or hopeless. These emotions are part of the process. But if you want to heal, running away isn't an option. The more you allow yourself to feel the full spectrum of your emotions, the pain, the loss, the anger, the less power they will hold over you. Acknowledging the pain isn't about dwelling on it, it's about honoring it. It's about giving yourself permission to grieve what was, to validate your feelings, and to recognize that they're just a part of your healing journey. The pain you feel is a testament to the depth of your love, the strength of your heart, and your courage to have opened yourself up to another. Even now, when the ache feels unbearable, know this: it won't always be this way. Even if you can't see it yet, healing is already unfolding within you. And that hero that you've always admired, the admired in stories, the one who rises stronger and braver than ever before, that hero is you. They've been within you all along, waiting for this moment for you to step forward and take the first step towards your healing. Without the struggle of breaking free from the cocoon, the butterfly never learns to fly. It is in the struggle that you find your wings, and the heartbreak that resilience takes root. So take a deep breath. Your journey begins here. And each step forward is a testament to your courage and your resilience. No more a caterpillar. Get ready to fly, you beautiful, strong, courageous butterfly. And this is moving to chapter 10. Chapter 10, reimagining your life, seeing beyond the fog. One of the most powerful tools for shaping our future is our imagination. Visualization, the act of mentally seeing your future, can be transformative. It's like setting a destination in a GPS. Without it, you drift, letting circumstances decide your direction. But with a clear vision, every step forward has purpose. I remember standing in front of the calendar at my desk after the new year, staring at the months filled with reminders of what had been, especially the memory of our cruise. It had been a beautiful trip, filled with laughter and sunsets, but it was also our last trip together. Taking that calendar down felt heavier than I expected, as if I were saying goodbye to so much more than just a year. When I replaced it with a blank one, something shifted. It wasn't just a new piece of paper, it was a fresh start. Those empty spaces, they weren't reminders of loss, they were invitations to imagine what could be. I asked myself, what do I want to fill these days with? What kind of life do I want to create? After heartbreak, imagining a future beyond the pain can feel like navigating through a dense fog. The path ahead is unclear, and it's tempting to stay rooted in place, afraid of missteps or further hurt. But creating a vision for your future isn't about mapping every turn. It's about daring to hope again, one possibility at a time. Think of your life as a ship. Without a destination, it drifts, carried by tides. It might stumble upon something good by chance, but more often, it just circles the same waters, never truly going anywhere. But now imagine what happens when you plot a course. Even if the journey isn't perfect, you're moving forward with intention. And the same is true for your life. Without vision, you'll just react to whatever comes your way. But when you start to imagine where you want to go, when you dare to see beyond the fog, you take back the wheel. The fog doesn't lift all at once. At first, you might only see faint outlines of what's ahead. You might hesitate, unsure if you're strong enough, but with each step, your vision becomes clear and the horizon comes into focus. Your future is not an empty space. It's a canvas waiting to be painted. You're not drifting, you are creating. And remember that you don't have to know every step of the journey. You only need the courage to take the first step. And this is chapter 10, conclusion, the journey ahead. Heartbreak strips us down to our rawest selves, forcing us to confront what we thought we couldn't live without. But it also offers something powerful, an invitation to rebuild, reimagine, and reclaim a future shaped by your dreams, not your pain. The journey from heartbreak to vision building is one of transformation. You face doubts, fears, and losses that once felt insurmountable. Yet here you are, moving forward, shifting your focus from what was to what could be. Every small step, every moment of hope has brought you closer to a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and truly yours. Now is the time to take that next step. Say yes to opportunities that excite you, even if they scare you. Trust in your ability to create something beautiful from the pieces of what once was. The life you're building is not just worth the effort, it's worth everything. When I started this book, I honestly had no idea that I would finish it. There were days that I felt like I really didn't have anything worth saying. There were also days that I would be writing a chapter on healing and progress, and yet the whole time I was writing it, I was crying. And it's like, this is hypocritical. How can I write about healing when I'm still feeling devastated? It has been quite a journey. But regardless, I kept pushing through the doubt, through the fear, through all of it. I knew that I had to finish this book regardless, because I had to prove to myself that I was stronger than this heartbreak. I had to prove to myself that I was stronger than my doubt and that I could complete something that mattered. Melissa and I have talked a lot about how we've always called ourselves great starters. We are great starters. Like, we can start anything, but we're not finishers. And I think that the reason that I've so easily allowed myself to take that identity, because It's not that I couldn't finish, it's that I allowed my doubt to stop me from finishing. It's the moment that I feel like I'm doing something great and that little voice starts saying, you can't do this. Like, no one wants to listen to you. No one wants to hear from you. And so I stop because it's like, yeah, that's probably right. So it's crazy to me that it finally took the most painful, raw thing in my life to finally push me to finish something that I started. So I am a finisher. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when we step out, when we allow ourselves to be seen, when we open up and we just say, this is my story and I'm ready to move forward. And truly, for the first time, I fell in love. And I don't always know the lesson. I know that this relationship served its purpose, and the fact that it finally put me in a position where I could open my heart and I truly did fall in love with someone so completely. And I think that it was just a lesson that I had to learn. So that's what the book is. It's my rawest moments, but it's also the journey and the things that I've done along the way to heal. I'm not completely healed. I'm mostly healed. I cry a lot less these days. In fact, I haven't really cried in a long time, so about the relationship anyway. So that's good. If there's one thing that you take away from tonight, it's this. Whatever your journey looks like, you can keep going. Even when you don't feel ready, even when you don't know how it's going to turn out, even when your chatterbox tells you to stop, you can keep going. Even when your chatterbox tells you that you're a hypocrite and no one wants to hear from you, you can keep going. Because the moment that you decide that quitting is not an option, everything changes. You've seen it in your own life, moments where you've pushed through when you didn't think you could. Maybe it was your career or relationships or healing or something. And just like the caterpillar doesn't yet know that one day it will have wings, your transformation is already happening, even if you can't see it yet. The book, again, is obviously very personal to me. But more than that, if there's something I can learn from something, then I would like someone else to learn something from it. If my pain, if my journey can help someone else who's in the middle of the same struggle, then that's what I want to do with it. So this book is also meant to be a resource for others. I know that heartbreak can feel isolating, but if I've learned anything, it's that while our stories may be different, our emotions are very often the same. Melissa and I, this past year, have both been going through some really huge struggles. They're completely different, but the emotions that come from the struggles are the same. Like, my story is this, and I'm struggling with all of these emotions, and her story is this, and she's struggling with the same emotions. So a lot of times the battle doesn't have to be the same, but the emotions are. Healing is never just about one person. It's about all of us. So lifting each other up, reminding each other that we're not alone, that we're capable, that we're strong. So tonight, this wasn't just about reading parts of a book. It's about taking back your power. Because if I can finish my book, despite all of the doubt, fear, and resistance, you can finish your dreams too. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what I read tonight, the message that resonated, or any questions that you might have about the book or the process. So you guys can get some desserts and we can talk about it.
So proud of you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
I was studying on caterpillars once, and something that stood out to me was that when the caterpillar, what caterpillars do is eat constantly. That's why they're like a plague to a farmer. They will destroy, that's all they do. They eat, eat, eat. But when they're going to spin the cocoon, when they're eating, they back in the back of their jaws, they put debris and trash that they go through. It's back there, and when they start spinning that cocoon, that is part of what goes into it that makes it strong, to where it holds